Hey there, y'all. Okay, I am live. I am live and direct, as they say. Hi, y'all. My name is Patrice Davis. This is the first of, I would say, probably in about a year and a half since I've actually done a video on this particular channel. I used to host a number of videos live, sometimes pre recorded, talking about basically starting a business and talking about my journey starting a business, encouraging you all out there in YouTube world to start your own businesses. And I did this because I understood starting a business as a way to really empower yourself. And I am doing this live today because, number one, the need for folks to start businesses, whether they're side hustles or full on 100%, I'm full time running the business type of situations. It's increased because more and more people have been laid off. More and more people over 50 are looking for other options. A lot of people are looking for ways to, bring in revenue if they decide to leave the United States and maybe live somewhere else in the world. And so starting a business is extremely important at this time. And that's part of the reason why I decided to uh, go live and share some more insight into the best businesses, online businesses and AI based businesses, which of course are typically online. But I wanted to feature some non AI businesses and some AI based businesses that will be perfect options for people over 50. So I have some information here that I went ahead and planned and outlined to share with you guys. So I'm going to set myself up just to make sure I am ready to go. But yeah, looking forward to, first of all, sharing this information. And again, jump starting this wonderful channel, the channel that I felt I could most to be myself. Maybe it's because I was coming live to you all as a person who's running a business, talking to you about running your business and talking about some of the things to consider. So it's a Saturday. Today is February 21st. So I plan on diving into this. I don't have any meetings or anything that's going to disrupt me. So I'm going to jump right into it. If you're watching this live, and I'd be surprised because I kind of did this without notifying anyone, but more than likely you're watching this after the fact. So hopefully, once you're watching this, you're getting some really good ideas, and hopefully you decide to share it with some people who may be able to benefit. So, first of all, if you're over 50 and you are looking into, okay, what are the next steps for me? I was laid off recently, or I think I may be laid off soon, or I really think I want to change my career because I've been doing this thing and I only did it because it was a great way to make money while I was raising my children. And now that my children have moved out, I'm ready to do what I want to do. Maybe you want a lifestyle business. Maybe, again, you want a business that is mobile, that you can take anywhere. You can run your business from, a beach in Thailand or Hawaii. The bottom line is you have decided you want to start a business, and you want to make sure that you're not dependent on family for anything. So you of course want to bring in more, bring in money for that reason. Again, you potentially have been laid off. So I'm sure you've already gone through the options, right? So your options are to either spend time looking for another job. You have maybe some funds saved, and so you want to give yourself some time. Maybe you want to take some kind of career break, but you realize, that's it doesn't, I'm 50, I'm not sure if I want to do that at this stage in my life. You could probably go back to school. So these are all the things that you've already probably sorted through and have come to the decision that these aren't the best options. And so now you're thinking, what are some low cost or low startup cost businesses you can start and actually start generating money, as soon as possible. So of course, there are online businesses and AI based online businesses. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, and then I'm going to jump into what you're here for, which is what are some ideas? Of course, the information's out there, but in addition to what you can find online, I'm going to try to do some ad libbing and doing everything that I can to add some reality and some experience to some of the things that you may or may not have considered as you are exploring your business options. So I started and a consulting business. I call it an independent consulting business or boutique consulting business at age of 48. I started it in 2020, January 2020. And I got my first client in May of 2020. Then I believe the second client around September of 2020. And then around, November, October is when things started to pick up a little bit. And I was able to generate five figures in 2020. Not a lot, but it was pretty cool to look at my financial report and know that that 39,000 that I earned in 2020 was money that I earned on my own without having to wait for a paycheck. Yes, I had to wait for those payments in between. And yes, I seriously undercharged for my services because I hadn't yet figured out the value of my expertise, which I talk about a lot. But yes, I do want to make sure you had some background into how I started. Over the years, I grew the client roster. I've hired teams, both employees and contractors. I've built systems. We've, done some amazing things. I've had government contracts. I've worked with some of the top organizations that you're aware of. And we've really done well as a business. And over the last 6 years, the business has earned almost $3 million. I'm actually now, of course, I just had our 6-year anniversary in January 17, 2020. I'm sorry, 2026. And of course, now we're entering into our 7th year. So I've, been where you may be, and I can certainly talk to you about so many things when it comes to running a business, and that's part of the reason I'm here. So, number of things I want to talk about are, again, examples of online and other businesses that don't require AI. We're going to start there because that's very important, because a lot of us in this age group are learning, maybe already AI specialists. There are tons of people out there that are over 50 that are kicking butt with AI. I'm on my way. I actually, about 2 years ago, I recorded my first video on this channel about AI and all the really cool tools, AI tools already I'd learned about. And so I'm actually going to include a link to that video, because a lot of the things that we're learning about now, Gamma and some of those other AI tools, are doing really, really well. So I'm proud that I was a little bit ahead of my time 2 years ago, and was featuring like so many of the wonderful things you can do with different types of AI based software. But what we're going to talk about, of course, are examples of online and other businesses that don't require AI, but actually, of course, will still flourish, because some of these businesses, they require nuance and context, and these are distinctly human traits, and things that AI cannot do yet. So, or maybe it can do it, but the fact of the matter is, these are things where humans want to hire typically other humans to do it, right? And that's one of the things to always remember. Humans are going to, in some instances, going to prefer having humans perform certain services. I don't know, especially what we're learning about AI and the way that they're basically in these, really odd, cyclical financial relationships. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Of course, it's still going to take off. It's going to get rid of whole industries. But let me get back to my point here. So, online and other businesses that don't require AI. So there's, of course, digital services, which AI is very, very prominent in that field. But I'm talking, things such as custom workflow automations. Again, AI can do that, but again, there are certain things that you can learn as a business owner. You can go in and learn from the business who needs this custom workflow automation, and you can help them make some decisions based on what will be the most beneficial for that specific business. And so that's an example of one. Of course, there's web and software development. Again, AI can definitely do that. But again, there may be certain niche services or niche opportunities where your human knowledge and your human approach, and again, your distinctly human nature of understanding context, I think is going to be very beneficial for some of these types of businesses. And of course, there's digital marketing consultant, there's managed IT solutions. So these are all examples of digital services that you can provide as a human, of course, quite a few of the things that you do within the business can be AI enhanced, or even automated through AI. But these are overall business ideas in that field that you can do without, of course, AI. There's coaching. So coaching took off years ago, and there are quite a few people that are doing really well, even though quite a few coaches have, you know, I would say hit the ceiling because it became so, it was just, I would say it was one of those industries that became very, I don't want to use the word overrun. And so, but the bottom line is, depending on a number of factors, you can still establish and run a very successful coaching business. I know of a person who not only has a coaching business, but this person's also started a coaching certification business where she has a certification and coaches learn that particular process, get certified in her process. Where that whole thing is, I have no idea, but there are ways that you can think bigger about coaching. It doesn't always have to be that one-on-one service. It doesn't have to be that one to many service where you're providing group coaching. You can think about coaching, I think, in broader ways as well. Then, of course, the one we learn a lot about, virtual assistant, that is something that's very, very popular, and also very competitive. I don't think it's reached saturation. You could provide a specific service based on your expertise. For example, the virtual assistant she's not really a virtual assistant. Yeah, I guess she is a virtual assistant that we work with. She specializes in a lot of things that are tech related and project management. So while she does provide certain services that an executive assistant would provide, my reliance on her is on her expertise, her project management expertise. She's a certified PMP. She used to manage a ton of web development projects. She has a ton of coding experience. So she's very, very specialized, and so that's an example of a virtual assistant that it goes above and beyond what some of us may believe a virtual assistant services may entail. Then, of course, there are quite a few wellness business ideas that I think a lot of people are interested in as we become more and more aware about all the ways that unhealthy habits and unhealthy products are entering into our space, into our environments, and into our bodies. So, there are clean products businesses, right? That would, be a business that's a product that you would have to create. There's mobile pet grooming and even a personal trainer. Those are all three different types of wellness businesses. Then there's eco-friendly dry cleaning. I'm telling you, when I used to drive, I would say probably 15 miles when I would say years ago when I used to go, get my clothes dry cleaned. I don't do that as much anymore. I don't really need to, except like, nice blazers and suits. But for the most part, people still need that service. And I would drive 15 miles to go to the eco-friendly dry cleaning. I'm assuming they said that they had these different stickers around to say that they don't use certain chemicals that are popular in the dry cleaning business. And the dry cleaning business is very chemical heavy. And I didn't want those things on my clothes. And so, yes, I would drive 15 miles to do that. So consider that as an option. And then sustainable landscaping. I'm also one of those people that I want my lawn area, my grass, and my whole, the environment around my home to not be full of chemicals. If I had grandchildren, and I don't yet, I would like to know that my grandchild can feel comfortable rolling around in the grass and not be exposed to dangerous pesticides and herbicides. So that is something I would definitely pay top dollar for, because all of that stuff gets back into the water supply and all of those things. But I don't want to go off topic too much. But so I'm going to give you another 11 businesses. So I'm going to go through this list a little bit sooner. So number 6, event planning. People still need event planners, a bridal stylist, hairstylist, interior designer. So my hairstylist, as you guys can see, I just cut my hair recently, but I go to the same person. I've been going to her for the last, several years. And she explained that her business has never dipped. During the recession, people were calling her to find out if they can come to her house to get their hair done. She says her business is always steady. As a matter of fact, it's grown, and she has done what a lot of hairstylists are doing these days is they're renting sort of a room in they have these businesses now where I, as a business owner, can own, a large building, and I can customize it so that, up to 15 different hairstylists can have their own room, not a booth, right? Their own room, so to speak. And they're paying me basically rent to rent that space. What does that do for the hairstylist? They have a lot less overhead, but they can still have their clients come into their space. They still have access, to the sink and all the things that they need to be able to do their client's hair, just as effectively. And they can have up to 2 clients at a time, depending on the size. So the point I'm making is, if that's something that you've been really good at, but you were thinking, maybe doing the whole salon model, and you're like, oh, that's too much. You don't have to do it that way, right? You can definitely do, I think it's called a salon suite approach. All right. So back onto the list: bookkeeping, always going to be needed. Business consultant, and I can talk about that all day long. That's what I do. Online tutoring, definitely needed. Senior concierge, that is a business that some of these businesses I'm even considering for myself, because I think it's important that we think about different ways of generating revenue. Yes, revenue. I have my consulting business, but I am working actively on other ways to diversify my revenue sources. Yes, there's investment income, but I'm thinking about other ways to basically generate income actively. But of course, how active that is something that I'm also monitoring and making sure it doesn't compete with my consulting business, because we have active clients and all of that. So just want to make sure I threw that out there. Self-storage is still a very, very I would open up a very niche self-storage kind of space. I don't know. I mean, how do you compete with some of these big box self-storage operators? I don't know, but apparently maybe you could open up a self-storage area in a rural community. Maybe you live in a rural community, and that there's a college up the street, and maybe you have a self-storage space specifically devoted to serving that particular university or a number of universities. And so I don't know, that's something to consider. There's home automation consulting and implementation or installation. There are delivery company. You can still function as a delivery company, a moving company, or property management. One thing that came to mind, and I'm going to put that out there just in case any of you guys thought about this. There are a lot of people, again, that are leaving the United States for a variety of reasons, some because of political reasons. And they, they have homes, and they are looking for people to manage their homes, because maybe they still want to, of course, generate rental income from their property. And this probably already exists, and I'm going to look it up because I think it's a great idea to actually have a property management company that is focused exclusively on people and positioned that way, right? Not just focused, but positioned that way and marketed that way to be for people who are leaving the country. Again, it probably already exists. I just haven't looked it up before I prepared my notes, but I think it's a great idea. Now we're going to start talking about AI businesses. And so we know about the big AI businesses, and I have some examples of how AI is driving different activities within these large companies. So really what I want to talk about initially is how AI, helps, certain, not would say help certain activities. They actually run certain functions within the business, which is unfortunate because that has led to people being laid off. But there are some, new processes that were probably never managed by a human, and now AI can do that. So let's jump into those examples. Number one, so Tesla, right? So Tesla is, of course, the automotive and clean energy company, and they use AI in their advanced driver assistance functionality. Basically, they're autopilot. So that is AI. I'm not sure if it's AI driven. In other words, it's 100% AI driven, or is it AI enhanced? And then there are humans that are looking to see, whatever information that AI is generating for that autopilot function. Then there's Netflix. We all know Netflix. So Netflix, you may have realized that your streaming options, your menus are so much more custom to you and your, watch history. And so, of course, AI is used to make sure that the watch history is enhanced based on your individual taste. Then there's Spotify. So they use AI for its autoplay and music recommendations and personalized playlists. Again, AI is really great at that. And then there's a Stitch Fix, and this is an e-commerce clothing store. They use AI to analyze user submitted style profiles and provide personalized clothing recommendations. Again, AI is really great for these kinds of details. It's, again, great for data processing and data analysis, and all of that data about hundreds of thousands and even millions of let's say Netflix subscribers. That's something that's really fantastic for AI to be able to do that, rather than relying on whatever the alternative would be. I'm not a data analytics person, so I won't even try to make anything up. So now that we've thrown out some ideas, and I do have a few others here, you're probably thinking, well, how do I do it, right? How do I get started? Well, there's a ton of information out there. You just have to use the Google, right? You can also use the Chat GPT. I personally do not use Chat GPT. I have another language learning model that I use and rely on for certain things. But the bottom line is, yes, you can always find out how to do it on Google, or on your favorite language learning model. But the fact of the matter is, the how, having something explain something to you, how to do that in a text output, that's fantastic. You can even create a checklist based on that. You can enhance your output in AI to say, okay, give me a checklist, but then give me the resources that I need to actually execute this checklist. And then also take the checklist and the resources, and then, develop, let's say a schedule, so to speak, so that you have a fully functioning, I wouldn't say functioning, but like a really good outline of how to actually implement the things that you need to implement, as a business owner. However, I always talk, the fact of the matter is, information is not the same as implementation. Information is not the same as effective implementation. Information is not the same as, I would say, best practice, or and best practice sometimes comes from a person who's actually done it, right? It could be a summary of best practices. Again, it's a text output. So I do want to quickly talk about some other recession-proof businesses, though, because I think it's important for those of you who, when I read that list, none of it really, struck a chord. So, of course, recession-proof businesses are almost anything in healthcare, freelancing services, and quite a few of what I described earlier would be considered freelancing services. Auto repair, that's always, people are always going to need their vehicles repaired. IT support, again, and the thing about IT support, again, there's so many sub levels to that. Pet services, that is growing constantly because more and more people have pets, and they are, treating their pets to really fantastic, specific, you know nutrition, menus, and the things that they do. I don't know, I don't have any pets yet, not right now at least. Cleaning services, childcare, and courier services. So those are 8 businesses that you may want to consider. If you're over 50, these are other businesses you can potentially consider as well. And of course, I'm always going to talk about being a consultant. This is something that I know really well, and I can certainly learn a lot more. But in terms of how to launch a consulting business, and how to sustain one, and how to adapt to changing markets, and financial, how to come up with financial projections, and then how to adjust to, again, changes that are happening financially, forming partnerships, thought leadership, all of those things. That's something I do very, very well. And, I can certainly, provide additional insight on that. So, one of the reasons why I want to provide that list is because I do think it's important, again, that if you're over 50, that you're thinking about other options. So another reason I want to talk about this is because I've had some really good examples that I've learned about from people that are 15 over. For those of you who don't know, part of the reason that I wasn't as active on this particular channel is because I have two podcasts. One is called Federal Grants Explained, and that is aligned with my consulting business because I am a federal grant compliance consultant. And last year, when things were going kind of odd with federal grants, I decided to launch a video series called Federal Grants Explained. And then some of the people around me, a couple of people that follow me on social media said, hey, you should turn this into a podcast. I'd actually been thinking about doing a podcast about my industry for a couple of years, but I kept thinking, who's going to listen? It's such a small audience. And basically talking myself out of it. And by the way, that's one of the best business tips I can share with you is that you're sometimes going to try to talk yourself out of things. But if it's intuition based, and you have enough, basic knowledge about whatever it is, I highly recommend that you at least take a leap to find out what it is, to at least, pursue it. And then as you are pursuing it, learn, right? And then adjust accordingly. But never allow yourself to just be 100% talked out of something, because that intuitive spark came from somewhere. And I do believe that we should try to focus as much as we can on what our intuition is saying to us. Anyway, so the other podcast I have is the Age Has No Limit podcast. I started that in 2024, August 2024, and I've since spoken with a number of guests, and quite a few of them are people who started their businesses over 50 or as they were approaching 50. So there's Tasha Gordon. She was a high salaried HR exec. And she then decided, you know what, I've always wanted to help people and serve people. So she went back to school to learn how to become a lymphatic massage therapist. And she now owns a spa with her business partner in a really cool area in Atlanta, Georgia. Then there's Patrina Wisdom. Actually, she's been a business owner for a very, very long time, but she is over 50. And her story is very, very um, inspiring, because of some of the things that she's gone through, some of our hardships, but she's very successful at her business. And she actually brings people to different parts of the world, whether it's Belize or, Bali and different parts of the world. And she has these really, they're really, I don't, how would I describe them? They're in depth, yoga based, spirituality based business retreats. They're not business retreats for people who just need a reset, like a spiritual reset. And she's excellent at what she does, and she's been doing that for very successfully for a number of years. Then there's Shabnam Ansari, who has a business. She's actually based in Canada, but was actually born in Pakistan. And she shared her story of how she had to leave Pakistan, but of course now is running her own business as well. The final story is Joanne Toller, 54 years old, also had some really traumatic experiences as a mom, and now runs a thriving consulting business as well. She has a nonprofit consulting business. Awesome person. And so those are just 4 examples of people who are 15 over, who either started the business at 50 or are still running their businesses at 50 years old. So I do know that some of you are probably thinking that you don't have enough skills. Retirement's around the corner. Maybe I'll just kind of, work part-time somewhere and, just kind of scrape in a few dollars while I wait for retirement to come. And you're just wondering if is this a time for you to start something new? My answer, of course, is yes, if you are physically able to do so and mentally able to do so, and you're in an environment where you know that you can focus on the business and potentially flourish based on that focus and based on, your personal drive, highly recommend that you move forward and give it 100%. But if you're still not sure where to start, yes, you've tried ChatGPT and other, or other language learning model, or the Googles, right? Just know that I, again, can be a resource for you. In fact, one of the things that I'll be doing to sort of step from behind the mic is hosting in-person workshops. And the first one I'll be hosting in just a few weeks in Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted to do in person for a number of reasons. Number one, I really love interacting with people. I've been told, especially on some of my other public, uh, um, I would say like things that I have done for like my podcast, or I've done webinars. I've done probably about 100 webinars for my business. But, I've been told I seem sort of stiff. I'm not. And I'm certainly not when I am, working face to face, hand in hand with folks, and when I'm doing any kind of in person learning or in person teaching environment. So I do want to let you know that yes, I am hosting something called the Ungatekept Business Intensive, because I plan on doing no gatekeeping. As a matter of fact, I'm using that approach for my consulting business, because there are a number of organizations that need the help. And quite frankly, I have come to learn that you have to, of course, give, right? You have to learn to give more, because even if I give information to an organization that needs our consulting services, their implementation may not be as effective as what it would be if they were to hire our firm. But it's better to not gatekeep that information. Information is so readily available. So let's just go ahead and fill in the gaps for people. But the On Gatekept Business Intensive, again, it's going to be in person in Atlanta. It's going to be on Saturday, March 14th. I do want to let you know that it's not going to be a checklist. We're not doing checklist based work, nor is it going to be something AI driven. Um, but it's going to be, a 1 day event where you'll be able to solidify your business foundation. You'll be able to solidify your business formation. And I'm not speaking about, getting this certificate and register with this Secretary of State. I mean, the true formation of your business. We're going to really solidify your business structure and your business infrastructure. We're going to talk about some unhidden operational details that you won't know unless you actually have a business. We're going to dig into sales, how to enhance your sales, something that I'm still learning, but have gotten really, really, I've gotten way better than I used to be, because I had to. Last year was different for our business. And so I had to really step up the things that I do in terms of, some of my sales activities. And then, of course, we're going to talk about partnerships, how to function as a thought leader in your industry, and how to be, a leader of your company, so that once you start hiring contractors or maybe full-time or part-time staff, you're already sort of set and understand how your role as a leader should be, driving, not only developing the vision, but also be a driving force for your business, so to speak. So one of the things I want to talk about, which is really important, and then we're going to finish up very, very soon. I keep seeing a lot of videos online and right here on YouTube telling people to start an AI business. It's easy. All you have to do is this, that, and the other. And there's some excellent examples of people starting an AI based business, and they're making money, and they're doing very, very well. Some have generated millions of dollars. The fact of the matter, though, is starting a business, even an AI based business, is not just the activity to generate the income, right? There are all these other areas about being a business owner that they're not talking about. And these are the fundamentals that I think is sometimes missing as people talk about starting AI based or other online businesses. But I do want to let you know, we're going to go back really quickly to talk about this 1 day intensive. I do have information about this intensive in the description below, so you can take a look at that. And I do also want to let you know that if you know anything about me, maybe, I don't know if you and I have probably worked together when you were launching a consulting business. I've hosted a couple of client attraction masterclasses. But anything that I do, whether it's a client attraction masterclass or it's a basic webinar or it's a 1 day training that we host for our clients on the consulting side, I don't half step, right? I don't do things halfway. I do things excellently with excellence. That's just the approach that I take. And so you come to that, this 1 day intensive, you are going to it's going to pay off for you, not just in months. It's literally going to pay off for you in years. The intensive itself will pay off for years to come because of the things that we're going to be doing together. By the way, I'm not looking for coaching clients, so I'm not asking you to come to this intensive to then sell you something else. This is truly what I'm delivering. This is the service I'm delivering. A one-day business intensive, so that whatever business you decide to launch, you're launching it with a good foundation and an understanding of what it actually takes to run a business successfully. All right. Um, so unless there's, I can't think of anything else that I'd prepared that I hadn't covered. So I do want to just round out this episode and end the episode by saying that I really hope that you enjoyed and learned from everything that I shared. And I do want to let you know that I'm back. I am back. I am back. I wish I hadn't left. But I really had to focus on my business. And so I had to make a decision. Either I split my activities, for lack of a better way of describing it. And then my consulting business grows slower or starts to suffer because I'm splitting my energy, or I decide to give my consulting business 100% of my energy, which is what I did, grow it to a certain point so that once I reach that certain point, I can then focus on other things that I can do as a business owner. So again, I do thank you for watching this video. And I'm hoping again that you learned something. If you did, please take this time to subscribe to the channel. My next goal is to get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm now at about 288. This is where things left off when I left the channel 2 years ago. But I know that this can grow because I know that this is something that's very important for people that are in their 50s and older. So if you found it valuable, please go ahead and subscribe, and also press that thumbs up so that you can know when I'm going to be doing another live. My goal is to do one every Saturday, with the exception of those Saturdays where I'm doing the live workshops, because I really like doing this. As you can see, I can talk about this all day long. So also, feel free to share this video with someone you think that would benefit. All right. So that's the end of this live. It is 37 minutes. So I'm hoping this 37 minutes was time well spent. And reach out to me, drop some comments, and let me know if you have any questions, or if there is something that you thought was either misleading or something you'd like to challenge. I'm open to those kinds of comments as well, because I learn from you guys, just as I'm hoping you're learning from me as well. All right. So until the next time, goodbye.